Good morning, good morning, everybody. How has your new year been? This is Robert joining you again for 2019, the very first Motivation Monday of the brand new year. If today is your very first Monday joining us, welcome. If it is not your very first Monday, again, we're going to have some slight variations to the schedule, but just so that you know, as far as the agenda for today is concerned, we're going to start out with today kind of just going into what's new and, some of the changes that this series is going to be facing, as well as some of the techniques that we're going to be learning, as well as the series itself as far as its look and feel. After that, we're going to jump into some of the weekly reminders that we have. And those were the tips of the week that we had back in 2018. And then from there, we're going to really briefly take a look at some of the sales leaders and give out some real quick shout outs to some of the leaders for the previous weeks, as well as the carrier leaders for 2018. Some really, really amazing numbers that I've been seeing, and you guys have been out in the field just killing it over the last year. Specifically, I don't want to give away too many things up front, but I've seen almost double-digit changes, 100% growth in certain areas, which is amazing, amazing numbers, and you guys are just out there doing an outstanding job. And then last but not least, we're going to end with a quick sales technique and some tips on that technique. So without further ado, what's new? So if you remember, if you do not remember, or if you do remember, we recently sent out a couple different surveys. Personally, I don't like to totally spam your inbox every week or even every month for that matter, but your survey responses were outstanding. Some of the feedback that we got was just really, really eye-opening, and a lot of the feedback that we got is really going to help shape what you're going to see every Monday morning going forward in 2019. So with that, a lot of the stuff that we've actually gotten as far as feedback, one of the things that you're going to notice as of today, of course, we're starting at 10 o'clock. One of the biggest things that I actually got back from the survey is that, it's not necessarily that you weren't able to attend Monday at 8 o'clock, but it's just, it wasn't convenient. It's the first thing in the morning on Monday. Let's go ahead and look at maybe pushing that back a little bit. We had a lot of different ideas as far as timeline is concerned, but we really hope that this 10 o'clock time frame is something that's going to kind of land right in the middle and make it really, really easy for everybody to actually join us each week. And you know what? That's not to say that that might not adjust 2 or 3 months from now if there's even more feedback and there's a consensus that something better works. I'm flexible. That change is something that I can certainly make really easy. And if that's something that we decide to do, well, we might go ahead and do that. One of the other things that you're going to notice is that there's going to be a really new, clean look and a new format to this. Now, what you're seeing today is by no means the final product of what Motivation Monday that I'd like to entitle 2.0 is going to entail, but it's really kind of the start of this process about everything being changed for 2019. I'm really hoping that if we can give this a really nice, clean look, that it's really going to help you focus on the material and really just kind of streamline the entire format from beginning to end. Now, with that said, though, I do really enjoy the feedback that we've got, and I don't want that feedback to stop. One of the things that we're going to be doing for 2019 that's going to allow that feedback loop to continue is at the end of each of the series, we're still going to go ahead and send out a series wrap-up survey, I guess you could call it. But if you do look back in your inboxes, there are a couple surveys from the training team. If you'd like to go in there, I'm going to keep those surveys open for however long is needed. The ongoing feedback that we're going to get from that's going to be really successful and really helpful in pushing us forward into 2019. And one of the last things that's new, and one of the most interesting things, is I've got a lot of feedback on some really good sales techniques and things that you want to learn, things that are in demand, and just really, really good tips that I'd like to share with you as the year goes on. So we're not only going to mold this towards whatever portion of the season that we're in, but depending upon where we're at in that specific month or week, if there's something going on, that's what that sales technique is really going to kind of focus on, so that not only that there's a really good flow as the year goes on, but it's really pertinent to be in the present moment with what that sales technique is going to teach us as we go forward. So with that said, more changes are still to come, like I mentioned, as the weeks go on. So go ahead and just continue to look for those, and keep your eyes on those inboxes. We're going to be sending those announcements out as we go on. With that said, we'll push into our reminders for the week. So Previously in 2018, what we did is we kind of had some tips for the week. What I kind of really felt and got a lot of feedback on is that these reminders plus those sales techniques were really something that you guys cared about a lot. And if it's something that you care about, I care about it as well. And it's something that I really want to make sure that we highlight and focus on. With that said, we're going to kind of make sure that these reminders and these tips are a lot more prominent as the weeks go on. So you're not going to necessarily just see one tip of the week. You might see two, three, but this week we have three, as a matter of fact. One of those first tips is if you've been checking out your email and the inbox recently, there is a brand new AHCP NetGen lead portal. So the portal itself previously was amazing. However, some of the changes that they did is that really now it's going to allow you to select from a really good list of quality lead sources. You're going to be able to obtain those data leads or the live call transfers. And what they've done is they've actually added a whole layer of technology that's going to do just a lot of really good stuff for. And the main thing that it's going to do as far as those leads are concerned, it's going to check to see about those lead ages. It's going to check the origin. It's going to see if it's exclusive. And it's going to even look at consumer behavior and the duration of the lead. So what's nice about this is not only the fact that the portal was just amazing before, but it's new and improved, and it's going to be something that's really going to be an amazing piece of quality technology that you can utilize as 2019 goes forward. So something else, every week your inbox is probably flooded with emails. I know that mine is. I know that it's really kind of difficult to really focus in and see what's important and what's not. Something that I wanted to highlight this week, though, as one of the reminders for everybody, is that inside of the AHCP sales site itself, there is a huge area where you can actually look at weekly blog posts. You can look at topics that are in demand. One of those topics being, just kind of a different way to think about HSAs right now, for example. But one of the reasons why I wanted to post this up here this week is to remind you that there is a lot of amazing content on the AHCP sales site. So one of the things to look about here is that when you're navigating through the site, up in that top right corner, there's that big green button that says blog. Check it out. There is a ton and a wealth of information that's located in there. So it's really something that, if you have a free minute or two, just go ahead and scroll through that. And like I said, there's a ton of articles in there right now, with that HSA being one of the top articles. As 2019 moves on, I've actually seen a lot of updates from the marketing team. This is going to be something that's going to be taking shape as the year goes on as well, too. So look for changes in there as far as the content, really engaging and in-demand material in here as well, too. So the blog information is really pertinent to what's going on right now in the market. And last but not least, one of the other things that I wanted to really kind of focus on in here as well, too, is that there's also a wonderful training area inside of that HCP sales site. So like I've highlighted up here, you can actually go into the training area. You can actually look at the monthly calendar. Of course, we've got our Motivation Mondays in there right now. And as the calendar stands right now, it looks a little empty, but never fear. There's going to be a lot of webinars and a lot of training material coming up as the year goes on. So what you want to do is make sure that when you're clicking on that, you can go down, you can actually sign in to access the training library, and there is a ton more training materials in there. And I myself know personally, I'm going to be expanding this as well too, and make the library even more complete, so that there's a lot of material and a lot of information there that you can actually utilize, and information that's pertinent, something that you can use right now and not something that is, a year old. I'm going to make sure that this content stays up to date, and it's really going to be content that you guys have told me that you want to see inside of there. So with that said, those are the reminders for the week. Like I said, this is really going to be a prominent section as the weeks go on, because that's the feedback that you wanted to see. And I think that's an amazing idea. I think it's outstanding that we're taking these reminders and putting it at the forefront. Not everybody has the time to go through their email all the time, and I do know that a lot of you really super enjoy these Motivation Mondays, and I do think that the information that I want to put out there is something that you want to see. So I'm going to really try to focus and make everything in the reminder area and even the sales techniques going to be really pertinent and in demand for everybody this week. So really quickly, we're going to take a look at some of the sales leaders. Now, like I said, 2018 was an outstanding year. You guys went out there and you killed it. I'm telling you right now that some of the numbers that I've seen just blew me out of the water, especially with my personal love of the Medicare field, since I do a lot of training in that area. Our Medicare team has done an outstanding job, but not necessarily just them. Everybody has done an amazing job this year. So what I'm going to quickly do is we're going to highlight some of the carrier leaders for 2018 that we had. So on the accident side, of course, if you look across the board here, NatGen, NHIC in general was on top of the world last year. You guys, as far as NHIC, I don't know that there wasn't a week that I saw NHIC wasn't in the lead or at least tied with the carrier that week. So if you take a look at here under accident, limited med, short-term med, Medicare, dental, NHIC was always one of those top carrier leaders. You guys went out there and you really pushed our product. That was amazing to see that. Notwithstanding that, Golden Rule, Assurant, they were really at the top of the field under the accident, as well as even Golden Rule on the limited med and the short-term med and the dental side. So amazing job to everybody out there getting those carriers. And this is really a good screen to take a look at as far as, pushing into 2019 and looking at those which carriers are really going to be something to go with when you guys start looking at that for the next 2020 year. It's a really amazing screen to take a look at. So some quick sales leaders for last week. Now, last week was an outstanding week. And what I mean by last week, of course, this is going to be the last week of December. This is going to be December 23rd through the 30th. So right at the end of that open enrollment period. Some outstanding numbers. Oh, and with that said, those Medicare numbers, we have seen almost a 100% growth from the 2017 year versus what I saw in 2018 for your total sales. You guys are out there. The Medicare field is something that is just expanding quicker than I can even put it into words. So if you have ever thought about it, and it might be something that you're interested in, get out there, take a look at that Medicare product. It's going to be something that's going to be very, very beneficial to you in the future, as well as help you build that book of business and make it something that's really well-rounded. Not necessarily just your under 65 folks, but those over 65 folks as well too need just as much love and as much care as the under 65 group. So take a look at that. It's going to be something that can be out there to potentially make you quite a bit of money. So on our accident side, we have Brad Hartley, Kent Kurtwood, and Cody Rendazzo for our leaders for the week. Outstanding job, you guys. As I go through the sales leaders for the week, I just want to remind you that just because a name isn't up here, I've seen so many names throughout 2017 and 2018 that have just been outstanding producers for the year. So everybody deserves a huge round of applause. Everybody deserves just a really good pat on the back. If you see somebody that, is as a fellow agent, just congratulate them for a really good job well done for the previous year. Everybody has been out there producing just amazing amounts of numbers. Notwithstanding on the limited med side, we've got David Silbert and Matthew Roebuck. And on the short-term med side, David, there you go again, bud. You are doing an outstanding job. Way to go and way to close out the year. Brad, you and David are just going back and forth. I don't know if you have a little contest going on, but whoever is winning that contest is going to have to let me know. But you guys are out there putting up some really big numbers. And Matthew, there you are again at the list there. So great job, you guys. Now, with that said, I don't want to forget about my Medicare folks either. So Phyllis DelCarlo, Tamala Salden, and Jenny Borrow. Amazing job, everybody. You guys have done an outstanding job during 2018. Now, I know that a lot of you might have been new to the Medicare field this year, but even if you were new or you are an old hat at the field, you guys have put up some outstanding numbers. I've not seen growth like that ever in any sort of a field. Just to see almost a 100% increase in sales over the previous year is an amazing, amazing statistic to actually look at. Great job, everybody. Everybody deserves a huge round of applause for the previous year. So now that we have our carrier leaders and our sales leaders done for the week, let's go ahead and pop into today's sales technique. So as I started out with, what we're really kind of focusing on this year is change. I mean, not necessarily that there's not going to be change within this presentation as the weeks go on, but, your job function might change. Your direction as far as your sales might change as the year goes on. What you really want to kind of learn from this is how to deal with that change. How can you adapt to the industry itself? How can you adapt to, your specific business plan? And really just kind of how to adapt in general to any sort of change that might just be thrown at you and comes your way. So one of the most interesting things and one of the best pieces of advice that I've read in a long time actually comes from Tony Robbins. He said that progress equals happiness. And he also mentioned that our daily habits will determine our future, and our desire to succeed must be stronger than our fear of failure. So, again, our desire to succeed must be stronger than our fear of failure. Now, when I first got into the business, I was so afraid to fail. I would work tons and tons of hours just to avoid trying to fail. And you know what happened anyway? I would put in those hours, yet I'd still fail. Now, that's not to say that I was doing my job wrong or I was doing it bad, but failure is something that happens. And what actually has to happen is you have to allow yourself the ability to do that, which then in turn allows you to change as the days and years go on. So, for example, if somebody spends every day improving techniques, learning new technology, gaining authority in their industry, they're going to become successful. But progress requires change. And while change might not always be easy, it is required for success. So you have to be willing to allow that change to come in and be a part of your life. The only thing that really never changes is that everything always changes. So that is really the only constant. And that's why I felt that coming into the year, this would be a really good way to just launch the 2019 year. Just knowing that obviously we go into the year knowing that something's going to change regardless of the day or the week or the month, but really how to personally internalize that and then adapt to that change is the way that you really need to look at things. So as we push forward here, one of the things that I'd really like to highlight out of this is a really good quote that I saw is that if you aren't growing, you're dying. And growing, that can be as a business, that can be you as a person, it can be you as a family. Anything in that aspect is if you aren't growing, you're dying. And that's really pertinent in this business. The insurance industry is always constantly growing. Like I said, you can turn your email, log back in the next day, something else has completely changed. We've seen this as the years goes on the short-term med side. We've seen this continuously with the different state laws that have been changing over the year. So really, it's not necessarily the fact that it's not going to happen. It's just how are you really going to deal with that? So change in the insurance industry, of course, it is constant. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to be easy. You know it's going to happen, but just because you know it's going to happen doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be easy. Now, one of the most interesting things that I've seen this is that I can think of a time when insurance agents back in the day would go to the home of a client to actually physically pick up a monthly premium. The practicality of that door-to-door customer service obviously just really isn't there anymore. But if you can see the progression of the industry from where it was then to where it was now, the convenience of the insurance industry has made it really more accessible to people. So with that, the industry did have to change based on the people's change as well. Now, with the insurance industry advances, when the insurance industry advances with society, we can really meet the needs of our clients more efficiently. And you as an agent are in that same boat. As long as you can advance within that industry, you can then meet the needs of your clients super, super efficiently. One of the best ways to meet those needs is with technology. As the years go on, technology has become the forefront and the center of this business. Not necessarily just utilizing a lead portal or lead generation, but this could be anything from your personal project management to just your personal life and your calendar management. Being able to grow with that technology and learn that technology is one of the most powerful weapons that you can have as a person, not even just an agent, but as a person. Learning that technology and being part of that growth just in general, not only is going to make your personal knowledge better, but then you can share that with others as well too, and you can help them grow and help them succeed even more. The best thing about technological advances is really right now we can accomplish a lot more work in a lot less time. For the insurance industry, technology has made everything, for example, from like getting a policy started for a client to looking up insurance claims and processing and checking out coverage so much easier. The way we go about insurance now is tons different than it was just, say, 60 years ago, for example. Insurance agents, you don't need to go to a customer's house generally to do paperwork. A lot of us do our work over the phone nowadays. Like I mentioned before, we used to go to a home just to pick up payments. And so a client really doesn't have to worry about writing a check every month anymore either. They can go online, make their payments automatically. In as little as like a 15-minute phone call, for example, you could have health, dental, life insurance done. Because of that convenience and because of the way that the world has grown technologically, you have to make sure that you grow with it. What that does is that when that change happens, you are then at the forefront of that technical growth. And that, in my personal opinion, is one of the most prominent and important things that I have focused on, is to always make sure that I understand the technology and what I'm dealing with on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, so that when those changes do happen, if it's something that I need to go in and tweak or need to learn, I'm already at the precipice of it, and all I have to do is just a little bit more learning. Now, besides the technical growth, another important aspect of dealing with change is to always keep an eye on your professional growth as well too. And what I mean by professional growth is that this is about creating processes, trying to make your personal work and your work life there a lot more efficient, a lot easier, so that when you're not only dealing with that new technology, you have other processes and systems in place to allow you success. To build those better processes, that allows that lasting success. Transitioning from the day-to-day operations, let's say, for example, into a leadership role, it really requires a system of repeatable processes. And most people, really, that's a system that others can easily follow. And then that allows them to grow professionally as well, too. And what's interesting about that is that planning for that is necessary. Even though there is a set series there, planning is required. And professional growth, sometimes it happens very easily, and sometimes it happens over years and years and years of period. But it's something that is involving a process that you're always molding and that you're always working on. One of the other things that you really want to kind of focus on as far as change is concerned, and this is something that I've gotten as a topic and something that everybody is interested in continuously, is marketing. Your marketing tactics as the weeks and months go on, they can change just as quickly as the industry can change. You might need to change it up one day from handing out a business card to doing some online social media marketing. This is something that is going to be requiring continuous review, continuous oversight on, and just to make sure that you are at the forefront of it, it is going to require you to continuously be out there changing it up. There was a point in time, if you remember, when billboards, I was just recently back in Chicago, and billboards are still huge out there, but there was a point in time when those billboards were the thing. You can remember back to beginning with the Burma Shave signs as you're driving down I-80 in the middle of the United States. That is a simple form of marketing. But the way that has changed and adapted over time has really shown the need and the progress that marketing takes. When billboards were the thing and everyone really kind of dreamed of having their face or their business, for example, on a billboard, that was the thing that was in. And then what happened after that? We went into the radio industry. We went into the television industry. We've now moved into the internet industry. And while the advertising for your personal self and or your business has changed with that, that's the same type of marketing change that you need to be focusing on as an individual agent, or even as an agency in general if you have other agents that work along with you. So those marketing tactics are something that you want to constantly always be developing. Television commercials, radio commercials, magazine advertisements, you can still utilize those. Nothing wrong with that. But that's one thing to make sure that you look at, is that you're not becoming stale in that area. It's something that needs to be changed up continuously. And it does need to be looked at with a kind of an overhead view. If you really can't see that marketing tactic, bring somebody else in to maybe get some assistance on that, and just kind of look at it as a team and look at ways to differently approach that. As the weeks go on, marketing, online marketing, social media marketing, the utilization of that entire atmosphere is going to be something that we're going to be focusing on. It was a really big area that of a sales technique that really was just everybody's just dying to really kind of learn more about and get some more information and more hints on. So we really want to focus on this as the weeks go on, and we're going to do that. We're going to look into better ways to do your marketing, better ways to do your social media, better ways to get out there and just make that name pop for everybody. So definitely keep an eye out for that as well too. Now, I didn't put this last because it's the least portion, but I put it last because besides the technical aspect, personal growth to me is actually something that I equate as the highest and or equal to the most important thing that you can continuously be doing to ensure that you're taking change, just by the neck and shake it and say, you know what, I got you under control. I have this. But at the same time, though, your personal growth is going to be something that's going to allow that change to be something that you can do easily. So my personal growth over the years is going to be different than your personal growth over the years, but it's something that you always want to be focusing on. That could be something as easy as reading a book, I'm sure that as 2019 came in this year, you tried to utilize, those New Year's resolutions. I think that I made a joke with my wife that my resolution this year was to make no more resolutions. So as far as resolutions are concerned, personal growth, as far as it could be health, eating right, exercising more, it's a really big topic that lots of people like to focus on as something that they really want to try and shape and mold as the year goes on. Your professional life is hugely influenced by your personal life. A career must start with a solid foundation. I don't necessarily think that anybody could go into a career if they're on a rocky foundation. I'm sure that it is very possible, but to make that career really spectacular, your foundation, and just thinking of it as a level of a house, building a house, that foundation has to be solid, and it has to be there for you to grow personally. Now, not to really get sappy, but I personally couldn't do this job without my family or my spouse cheering me on and encouraging me to keep going. They are something that is a solid fixture in my life and is somebody that I lean on for support when I need to. But the nice thing about it is that it's a symbiotic relationship, and the feedback that they give me allows me to also grow as a person. And I take that feedback really, really to heart. And I use what they give me to really just encourage me on a daily basis and to keep me going. Having a solid personal life, it's really going to propel you in your career, because if you're happy in one aspect, you're going to be happy and content in another aspect. And I really, truly believe that, in my heart. Surrounding myself with those supportive people, whether it's family, friends, a spouse or partner, or even your work friends, it's really important to have that solid growth and that solid group of people there to help encourage you and support you. Everybody, and I bring this up really just kind of in a side aspect, is one of the additional reasons why I enjoy going to church on Sundays is because I like to surround myself with my friends and family. And it really makes me feel internally welcome. It makes me feel love, and it really solidifies that foundation. And it allows me to have the faith to keep going on a daily basis, knowing that I have that support behind me. Now, if you have that support and you have that growth there, you won't be worried about the drama outside of your work when you come into work every day. You'll be able to be focused on your job and your clients. You're going to grow exponentially when your clients can connect with you on a personal level. And that's the last point on this that I'd like to make as far as personal growth, is that if you are solid yourself, it allows you to exude that same emotion and that same feeling towards another individual. And that connection that you make with somebody is going to really assist you, especially in this industry. Rapport and making a connection with your client is huge. It's one of the most vital aspects of the entire sales process. If you don't make that connection, a client is most likely not going to want to buy from you. They're going to be hanging up the phone, they're going to be calling agent number 2, or they could be on agent number 10. But let's say, for example, you're agent 15 and you make that connection, you're solid. You already know, and you're happy and you're enjoying your day, you're going to be able to make that sale because that solid ground is there. Clients are going to want to hire you, not only for your work, but because they like you. I mean, that is a huge aspect of it. At the end of the day, I personally love what I do for a living. And, if you're in this industry, I hope that you love what you do as well too. And I'm sure that you do on a daily basis. It's worth every drop of sweat and tears that you put into this business. You know, I know myself, I might not make millions and millions of dollars, but that's not why I went into the business. What I realized from being in this industry for a long time now, 10 plus years, especially within the training aspect of going into almost 20 years, is how important it is to grow every day. It is super hard work, whether it's finding new ways to bring in more business or accomplishing the never ending battle of putting out there and pricing yourself for what you're worth and showing your clients that you're the one that needs to be chosen. It may feel like failure as your goals are sometimes still really, really super far away, but you're experiencing growth as you continually take those steps forward to accomplish those goals. So even the most successful agent, feels the constant need to drive to improve. And they may accomplish their goals, but then they're going to immediately set new standards and new goals to achieve. And that is what growth is about. And that growth allows you to change and allows you to adapt to the industry and keeps you open for those changes. It's the joy of being a trainer in my mind, and being and giving the aspect of being able to mentor and to help somebody in their steps and in their journeys as they're dealing with their own change. And that is something that makes me grow as a person. So you really just need to focus on that area and that personal growth and use that to harness it, and then that will just exude and be put out into the world. So one of the most interesting things about the entire change process itself, you always want to make sure that you're remaining aware of the situation. You want to make sure that you're understanding those changes and continuously building those skill sets, whether it be on a technical level, whether it be on a process level, or whether it be on a personal level. But of course, last but not least, you always want to remember to stay focused and remain calm, because change isn't going to be something that's going to be going on for 8, 15, 12 hours out of the day. It's going to be a short-lived process. You're going to be able to deal with it, and then you can actually move on. So remember to always stay focused and just remain calm. So with that said, as the weeks go on, if you have any feedback for me, if you have changes you'd like to see on Motivation Monday, if you have any training topics or sales techniques that you really want to see, go ahead and email me at training@ahcpsales.com, or you can reach out to our amazing folks upstairs at Agency Services. The number's listed on the screen there. We would love your feedback. I would always like to hear that feedback. Something that I enjoy is just reading the comments of what you liked, what you didn't like each week. That helps me adjust, and it helps me change, and it helps me actually change this as well too, so that you're getting a better experience and that we remain engaged and we remain motivated every Monday, just like we are today. So I really thank everybody for joining me today. It has been an amazing year last year. We are going to have an outstanding year in 2019. What I'd like to end the day on here is the final quote from George Bernard Shaw, is that those who cannot change their minds cannot change anything. So I will stay online for a little bit. If you guys have any questions or any comments you want to share with me, go ahead and put it into the box. Again, you can always email us at training@ahcpsales.com. But again, thanks for joining us, and everybody have an amazing 2019. Cheers, everybody.